Hello and welcome. Happy Thursday. Happy to be here with you today. I know a lot of you are working through and finalizing your application for round one, or applications, I should say, given that you should be applying to more than one. And I'm really excited to be here with you today to talk about Yale SOM's MBA, full-time MBA program. So we're going to do a bit of deep dive. As a reminder, this is a live session, so you have an opportunity to ask questions directly for live feedback. Please note that your questions will be anonymous, so you can ask them in the comments. We won't share it on the screen. We'll just read the question out loud so that when this becomes available as a replay, it will be it won't show on the screen itself. So also just wanted to remind you that every week we are covering a topic on YouTube or on our weekly live sessions. And next week we'll be talking about NYU Stern. So if you're interested in applying to NYU Stern, I highly encourage you to register for that event. Write your questions in advance so I get to integrate those into my presentation. So whether we answer the question directly or not, your response will be part of the presentation itself, or the response will be part of the presentation. So with that, why don't we get right into the Yale application? So most candidates we work with that are targeting Yale SOM are already high achievers. They've done international projects, hit career milestones, and often sit in roles that many would consider MBA ready. But the reality is that Yale's mission, which is educating leaders for business and society, isn't just a marketing copy. It's really a way that they filter applicants that match their values and meet and resonate with who Yale SOM is and what they're looking to do in the context of their role in preparing business leaders for business and society. So this is the lens. This lens is built really to spot not just competence of an applicant who's applying, but also conviction in what it is that it really motivates them to do whatever it is that they say that they want to do. And that's where many otherwise qualified applicants falter in their application. On paper, they look solid. In person, you can definitely feel, I'm a feeling person, so you can definitely feel the drive. But in their application, they haven't connected the dots between ambition and responsibility, between career acceleration and societal contribution, which I oftentimes tell, even when I work with clients, you are presenting an amazing story in our one-on-one, but that's not communicated on paper. And the job of an applicant as you prepare your application is to be able to really capture that motivation that you have, that excitement that you have about what you want to do in the future on paper for Yale to really see that. So on the surface, Yale's one essay format feels really straightforward, but in reality, this is a stress test for clarity, for depth, and for purpose. And purpose is really important in your Yale application. And that's really what we're going to unpack today. How to approach the Yale SOM application with the nuance it demands, so you rise above the competition without relying solely on credentials, because oftentimes those credentials will not get you in the door. While they'll take you to the door, they won't get you inside. So Yale's application pool overlaps heavily with peer schools like HBS, Wharton, MIT Sloan. So you have to remember as an applicant that you are not really competing against underprepared candidates. You are competing with applicants who have 695 GMAT focus plus top undergraduate, strong employer, and these are the baseline, right? What breaks the tie at Yale is purpose-driven leadership. The AdCom is asking, will this person use the platform they're given for more than just personal gain? Will they influence business, policy, or society in a way that reflects Yale's values? Because at the end of the day, Yale wants to admit people, students that they believe in, who share their values, because they see them as forever representative of that institution, right? And the critical piece is it's not about isolated achievement. Narrative cohesion, it's really important. So your essays, your short answer, your video, your recommendation, your resume, all have to reinforce each other, and at the same time give nuanced angles of your personality and what you bring to the table, because that is really what carries weight. And I have seen polished resumes with perfect stats still fall flat because the story was fragmented. And I've also seen less traditional profile beat the odds because the story was airtight. And your job is to make your story as airtight, as dynamic as possible. Yale is known for their integrated approach to their pedagogy, their learning methodology. And that also means it's how they also look at candidates. They don't define leadership as in a one-dimensional way. They look across 4 levers. Individuals, can you self-direct and grow? And that's really important because Yale is going to expect you to be able to pick up what you need from a buffet of options and opportunities that they have so carefully curated that you can take advantage of in order to move your mission forward. Second is team. Can you collaborate and influence others to see your vision, to be able to move the needle again in the direction that you're looking to move the needle towards? But this is, again, not by forcefully influencing people, but really by collaborating and being a team player and a teammate. Third, organization. Can you drive structural change? That's really important. We can have the best ideas in the world, but if we don't take action towards them, we can't organize and enable, that's not going to really make any change or bring any change in the world. And fourth, the global/society. Can you connect your work to a broader system and community that really matters to you and the impact that you're looking to make? Emotional intelligence is also a major selection lever at Yale. So Yale has no interest in candidates who cannot lead with humility, respect, and perspective. And I say all these keywords because they are important in the context of how you're presenting your narrative, but it's not a you put this in here. It is the essence and the weaving of your entire narrative through all the pieces of the application itself. So if you are coming in with any kind of arrogance, even subtle, especially when you show up in your video recordings, that can definitely disqualify you as someone who doesn't fit the mold at Yale SOM. And finally, they want absolutely self-starters. You are going to graduate school, you're going to a university that has so many opportunities, and they want to work with individuals. They want individuals in the community who are going to bring initiatives. They don't want someone who they have to handhold along the way. So a self-starter, however, I know sometimes applicants confuse that with, I have to be an entrepreneur. I have to, have these tendencies that will show me they will show the admission team that I am the right person for them. What the self-starter means is people who have a track record of seeing opportunities, taking ownership, and executing, and again, influencing others without waiting for those perfect conditions or formal promotions or even formal permissions to be able to initiate the change that they see it's necessary to make in order to move the vision forward, right? So if you think even in your post-MBA goals, your vision rather, if it doesn't extend beyond your own advancement, so beyond your own getting more money, getting that promotion, getting that higher title, you're definitely not presenting the right fit for Yale SOM, because it's misaligned with who they want in the classroom, who those individuals are. And now I'm not saying you go and present yourself as what Yale wants to see, but this could also be a filter to determine, well, do you belong in this community? Because if Yale is looking for this kind of personality and you are someone who is just looking for higher pay, is this the right community for you? Because it's going to be a mismatch, and 2 years can pass by really quickly if you're having fun, if you're in the right community. And it can be miserable if you are not in the right space, in the right headspace, in the right community that sees the world in similar ways that you, in the context of, being driven by impact, in the case of Yale. So Yale's essays have always been famous for its, your biggest commitment prompt. However, we've seen a change this year. So you still have one essay to respond to, but you can now choose from 3 prompts. One is describe the biggest commitment, so that hasn't changed. This is your biggest commitment that you have made. Why does it matter? And the action that backed it up. So this is not about, I'm committed to something I've never put in any effort towards. It's, I'm committed to something and here's how I've put in effort towards it. Second is describe the community most meaningful to you, what you've given to this community and what you have gained. This is a recognition that any relationship is a give and take. In the same way, they want you to evaluate what you have given to them, but also what you have gained from it. And the third option is describe the most significant challenge you faced, how it has shaped you. This is about self-transformation, self-development, and self-awareness in your application. So your choice is not just about the story you tell, it's about the signal, the outcome. What I mean is, it's the signal that you are giving the adcom about what you see as most defining to you. There's no right or wrong prompt to choose. All of them work because they are there for a purpose, but your job is to showcase and reveal to the admission team what are your priorities, your self-awareness, your understanding of your values, of your own individual values, and how they relate to Yale's values in themselves. So regardless of the prompt, the filters are the same: emotional depth, clear purpose, and proof of sustained follow through in the context of the stories that you are sharing and communicating. So those generic feel-good stories or short-term wins are definitely not the thing that Yale is looking for. Yale wants to see how you translate conviction into action and how that action reflects the kind of leader that they want to essentially invest in, because by admitting you, that's essentially what they're doing. Now, of course, you'll have short answer questions and recommendations. All of those are part of the application. And your short answer and recommendations, I don't want you to consider them as fillers. Here, I'm going to repeat what I have in my resume. I'm going to, the recommender is going to say a few kind things and say, yeah, they recommend me. They're there to support your overall narrative, the dynamicism of your personality. So yes, there has to be a coherent narrative across the board, but you are a multidimensional person. So take this as an opportunity to reflect on what is it that you want to share with Yale that makes you unique in the way you think, in the way that you show up in the communities. And there is no shortcut to this component. The reflection is absolutely necessary because they will not know you. They won't take time and hours to get to know you if you haven't reflected in your application for them to be excited to invite you to an interview, right? So any inconsistencies between what you say and what your recommenders say and what your resume shows will erode credibility in your candidacy and obviously that means that Yale will move on to the next person who has taken the time to really reflect on who they are and what they bring to the table. So your goals, especially in the short answers, should be both clear and socially aware. As we know, Yale cares about that. And Yale definitely isn't about anti-ambition. You have to be ambitious. But what they are is anti-detachment. So you can't be detached if you want to have an impact. As we know, the individuals who are really passionate about the things that they do are the ones who are going to take action to move the needle in the direction that they see the injustices being in the world that will brings about change in society and in business, right? So they expect you to connect your career plans to a broader benefit of the communities that you are going to be a part of. And then recommenders need to go beyond endorsing your performance. They should be affirming your follow-through on commitments, your capacity to mobilize others, and your potential for leadership in complex, interconnected environments, because again, that is what Yale teaches in their program. Many applicants make the mistake of presenting their career goals as purely professional milestones. At Yale, the question is, why does it matter beyond you? That is an element that even though you have one essay prompt, you have 500 words to respond. You have to write an MBA resume. And if you don't know how to write an MBA resume, we have on our YouTube channel at SIA Admissions, we have resume guidelines on how to write an MBA resume that's different from a job resume. So definitely go check that out after this video. And your goal should balance obviously ambition and grounded feasibility. You don't want to say something that is totally unrealistic to achieve, or you've seen one person, there's one anomaly of an experience of someone being able to do what it is you say you want to do. That is not going to convince the admission team that you're going to be the same person who's going to be able to achieve that, right? You want ambition, of course, but it has to be grounded in feasibility. Otherwise, it's going to definitely read as naive and undersell yourself, as well as make you look unprepared for your next steps that are obviously the MBA journey itself. And you should also be able to map your goals to Yale's ecosystem, from faculty expertise to centers like Program on Social Enterprise or the Center for Business and Environment. That mapping shows that you are not just looking for any MBA. You're looking for Yale because it is integral to you achieving or having the right exposures in order for you to achieve where you want to go in terms of your vision and your long-term goals. Know this, and I say this often. I don't think I repeat it for every session, but I definitely say this often. You cannot look at an MBA as the end-all be-all. The MBA is a tool to help you go where you want to go. Yes, it's Yale, and yes, it's ambitious, and yes, it's an amazing environment to be in, but they are there to provide a service to you, for you to gain experiences, to contribute your own experiences to the community, so that you can move and make the impact in the world that we need to see, right? Your ultimate goal is always the impact that you look to make. So even strong applicants sabotage themselves with common mistakes. The first is choosing commitments that sound like that sound nice if you share in a conversation, but lack proof or sustained action. Definitely Yale can tell if you are stretching a thin story to make it sound valuable. So that is a major filter that you need to make sure that you are looking through in your materials. And sometimes applicants have the story, but they're just not spending enough time reflecting and articulating that story. So it's going to come across as a thin story. Second is over-engineering your narrative into this glossy package that removes authenticity, and you sort of, the personality dies out entirely. Yale will definitely rather see complexity and nuance than the script that reads like it's been through 12 committees, editing, the life out of that material. And then third, recommendations that only validate performance without speaking to vision or social alignment, definitely going to leave a gap between you and Yale. So Yale is betting on your long-term influence, not just your ability to hit targets in your current role or your immediate post-MBA goal. It's really about the kind of change you're looking to bring in the world. And there's always room for improvements, right? So our role at SIA Admissions isn't to fix you. It's to fix the way you present your candidacy. We work with candidates to clarify the trajectory they're on, identify the through line in their experiences, and make sure that through line is visible across every component of the application. We elevate the narrative so it naturally sits within Yale Business and Society framework, not just by forcing it, but by uncovering the threads that are already there. If you're choosing Yale, most of the time, I've rarely seen cases where someone doesn't already have the value system that Yale shares. They may just not necessarily have taken the time to reflect on those experiences that they've had to align with what Yale cares about. And what we then do is we align every asset, from your resume to your recommendation to obviously your essays to all the preparation. So it aligns with Yale's decision matrix, and AdCom doesn't just see a qualified candidate, but an undeniable fit of a candidate that matches who it is that they are looking for. And again, it's not that we're fixing you, it's really about helping you articulate that, because I will say that at least in the West, I can't speak for other cultures, but I can speak for the West, we haven't been taught how to reflect on our own experiences. We're always looking at how companies should be evaluated, and we're always looking at the externally, but we don't necessarily know how to reflect on our own experiences. And the MBA application is absolutely asking you to do that. And it's a very hefty price to pay to do it incorrectly as you go through this process. So I'm going to give you a few cases that we worked with applicants, so to know how this plays out in practice. So we worked with a client who was an operations specialist in retail, no formal business training, worried about her credibility in the context of can she really communicate that she has a business angle that Yale is looking for. She also had a strong creative portfolio and deep community engagement. But she saw that as nice things that she really liked and enjoyed, but didn't really see that as additive to her application. So we built her narrative around the integration of operational excellence, creative problem solving, and social commitment, which resonated deeply with Yale, that she didn't just get in, but she got a substantial scholarship as well with her admission letter. Another was a military candidate whose most impactful work was locked behind NDAs. We worked on extracting the essence of those experiences and helping them extract the essence of those experiences, especially for military candidates who use language that is different from the corporate world. So we focused on the leadership, under pressure, the mission-critical decision-making, but without breaching confidentiality that obviously they were bound by. Not only did this one was a female, earn admission, but she also got a $90,000 scholarship on top of that. We also worked with a consultant who was working in government projects, but by his own admission, their profile was like every other consultant. So we dug into overlooked parts of their work and their stories. That was organizational impact, their long-term vision in terms of what they were looking to do, and how their experiences influence what that next step is going to look like for them, and connected those to Yale's ethos. It was already there. We just made it much more prominent and much more visible. he went from blending in like just another consultant who was applying to business school with landing an admission to the program. So if you've taken one thing away from today's session, is that Yale SOM rewards depth, coherence, and vision. Credentials are going to get you to the door, but what gets you through it is the story and the angles that make your that highlight that you and Yale share similar values. So if you're serious about building that kind of application, definitely I invite you to book a consultation, whether we work together through our full strategy or targeted elements of your application. The goal is the same, to help you present a candidate that Yale sees as indispensable. And I invite you to follow us on YouTube and LinkedIn for ongoing insight. We have every single week, we have one of these sessions. We also have some special events that we host occasionally as well, so you don't want to miss those. And then if you want to join a community of individuals who ask a lot of really intelligent questions around the MBA application and their stories and how to take action, in a community setting where you also not only come and ask your questions, but also learn from other individuals, I invite you to join the MBA Strategy Circle. This is a bi-weekly 1-hour conversation with me. And our next session is August 19th on Tuesday that you can join. So let's, we have about 3 minutes because of course I always have a lot of things to share. Let's dive into the questions that have come in. Okay, so I don't see questions in the chat, but let's go with the questions that have came through the registration form. So what should an application from non-traditional backgrounds, such as government consulting, keep in mind for essays while applying? When it comes to government work, in the context of us having done this before in helping applicants go through this, what is really important is that you are, what we've noticed is when applicants are working in government kind of projects, there is a lot of legal red tape around the work that you do, and you are accustomed to really sounding like a lawyer in your writing. So your job is to not sound like a lawyer, sound like a storyteller, sound like a human who is really sharing what your experiences have been like, what you care about in the work that you do. Now, this all depends on where you're looking to go post-MBA, because there has to be a transferability of experiences that you're going to highlight between what you have had so far and then where you're looking to go. So make the connection between the two. And sometimes those connections are not really very clear in the context of, well, I want to do something non-government from post-MBA. So your job then is to say, look at the experiences that you have and reflect on what are transferable skills, because I don't believe that there are experiences where there are zero transferable skills. You just have to think through those experiences. What are they? Look at what the experiences that you need in that future role that you want to have, and start building connections between the two. Obviously, this is going to take time. It's not something you can do in like 5 minutes. So you need to give yourself time to do this effectively, but focus on obviously being able to communicate your experiences in a way that illustrate your impact that you're going to be able to make, what you're bringing to the table as well, given that not everyone is going to government consulting post MBA. What exposures have you had that will be valuable across the board for all of Yale SOM students that are your peers? Okay, last question. How to prepare the best essay for Yale SOM. Preparation comes down to really reflection. We do have a rigorous process in our coaching, and we walk you through the entire journey on how to really prepare your essays. And the essay is really the easy part. The most difficult part in our work is all the reflection that you have to do along the way. And honestly, at the end, what I love the most about the work that I do with clients is seeing the transformation of how they talk about their own experiences as a result of putting them through all this rigorous process to make sure that they really understand their experiences, what they care about. So the best essays come from deep reflection of what has made you, what experiences have shaped you, what experiences have shaped the way you see the world. Because believe it or not everyone sees the world the way you do, and you're able to, if you are able to spend time to think about what experiences have shaped your thinking, and then articulate and then look at what has that yielded in the context of your experiences, where you've contributed, and then reflect that in your Yale SOM essays, as well as other schools' essays as well. Wonderful. Thank you so much for being here with me today. I invite you to join next week's session, where we're going to talk about NYU Stern's MBA program as well. If you're applying to the program, round 1, round 2, round 3, and future rounds, definitely want to join the session. It will be available also as a replay, but when you register, you get a chance to also ask your own individual questions that you can watch again as part of the presentation itself. Until next week, have a wonderful remainder of this one, and good luck with those of you who are applying to round 1 in finalizing your applications, as deadlines are just around the corner.